start here. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janvalabha Girivarari Gopi Janvalabha Girivarari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopikana Vallabha Girivarari Gopikana Vallabha Girivarari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Srimad Paramahamsa Paravajakacharya Sarasat Shri Srimad Sarangai Sesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda Ki Nama Acharya Siddhartha Sukur Ki Brahmasukusa Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Shri Shri Radha Govinda Gop Gopinath Shyamakanda Radhakanda Giri Govardhan Ki Vindhyavandam Ki Shri Mai Purnavadeep Dam Ki Yamanamaya Ki Gangamaya Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Samveda Bhaktivedanta Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Shri Gaurnitai Ki Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the sum of devotees, all glories to the sum of devotees, all glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. Welcome everybody. Nice to see you all here tonight, and especially some who have returned from last night. That means satisfied customers. So coming back for more. So tonight we're going to speak about what happens when we die. The big fear, the big mystery. Most people are afraid of death. And there's a very good reason for that, in that they do not understand life. If you don't understand life, you cannot understand death. And the problem is that the Judeo-Christian religions, whose spiritual source texts are mainly the Bible doesn't explain life very well, doesn't explain spiritual beings, what that means, and consequently most people are in spiritual ignorance. What is spiritual? This word is probably the most user-defined word in the dictionary. I once did a survey asking people at a multiple choice quiz, and they could check off all the things that they thought were spiritual. So I put on the list God, church, the Bible, scripture, candles, sunset, sitting in front of a fire on a rainy day reading a good book, sex, of course, a whole bunch of different things like that. And to my surprise, and not so much to my surprise, every one of those boxes got ticked equally. Why? Because what is spiritual? Whatever makes us feel good, right? And that's what most people think of as spiritual. If it makes me feel good, it's spiritual. The Vedas have a very different definition, however, of what is spiritual. And that's explained in a very wonderful way in the Bhagavad Gita. How many of you have read Bhagavad Gita as it is? Okay, good. All right. You all know that. You can pass the quiz, right? What is spiritual? Anybody? Come on. You read the Bhagavad Gita. What's spiritual?
The second chapter states what is spiritual.
I'm a little hard to hear.
In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita,
Yeah.
it stated what is spirit.
Okay, so what is it? What is spiritual?
That which is eternal.
Achinta, the spirit is achinta, transcendental.
Okay.
Consciousness of Krishna.
Let's start with a general definition. The general definition of spiritual is anything that's connected with God. Right? Like we were explaining last night, Bhakti Yoga teaches us how to turn any ordinary activity into a spiritual activity. How? By connecting it with God. Thinking, I'm sweeping the floor, let me be thinking, let me do this nicely to please Krishna. Your floor sweeping then becomes a spiritual activity. So that's a general definition of spiritual. Now, let's consider the more specific qualities of spiritual, or let's say spiritual energy. Somebody can tell what they are? What are the qualities of a spiritual being? Satchidananda, eternal. Sat, Chit, full of knowledge. And Ananda, full of bliss. So these are the qualities of spiritual. There's more qualities. Anyone?
Compassion, tolerance, forgiveness.
All the various emotions are concomitant with what? With the spiritual energy, who is a person. Right? Inanimate things do not have personal characteristics, desire, hankering, love, and so on. But spiritual beings do. Because why? That's their nature. So, this gives us a basic understanding of life. Let's say, the essential part of life. Perhaps we could put a light on over here somewhere.
You would rather use this light because this light is not properly done.
Oh,
Is it okay like this?
you're going to give me a halo?
Yeah.
Okay, let's now discuss life in the material world. And this is the part that most people don't understand, which causes them to have a fear of death. The material world is a combination of matter and spirit. Matter provides the form, and spirit provides the essence. Whether it's a plant or a bug or a human being. It's the spiritual energy within the body that gives it life, that animates it, and in the case of human beings and some other sentient animals, allows them to express different desires. So we've got a situation, we've got the spiritual energy, the minute anu, atomic fraction of spiritual energy, coming in contact with a material body made of material energy. So spiritual energy and material energy, very different in their qualities. So what is required for the spiritual energy to be able to animate, to be able to use, to be able to cause this material body to function? There's more parts that are involved.
Soul.
Huh?
The soul. The soul, which is the...
The soul is there. The soul is the spiritual being.
False ego.
Huh?
False ego.
False ego. That's one. That's good. That's part. What else?
Subtle body.
Subtle body. Made of?
Mind, intelligence.
Mind, intelligence, and false ego. Yes. So, let's say, the mind is the active principle there. Because the mind is what we might call an interface between the material energy and the spiritual energy. The soul, we have a desire. And we need a way to transmit that desire to cause this body to function. If I want to move my arm to scratch my head, somehow or other that there has to be a transference of that desire into the action of the body. So that's generally the mind. The mind is the active element for doing that with the aid of the intelligence who's giving the information about how to do that. So this is a very important part, understanding that there is a subtle body there. A subtle body is present. And then beside that, there's other bodies. Maybe you've heard of the etheric body. Anybody?
What? Sorry?
Etheric, the body of ether.
Is that like the astral body? Or?
Yeah, well, it depends on how you define it. The people that generally talk about these things, they do not use the same vocabulary that we do. And so different people refer to it in different ways. So you can say the etheric body, or the, what did you call it?
Astral.
Astral body. And I'm not real sure myself what astral body means. But the etheric body, there's one woman, Barbara Brennan. She had a school in Miami, Florida, in which she taught people how to see auras and how to, by seeing the aura of a person, be able to detect disease in the body before it became manifest. Because it first becomes manifest in the subtle body before then becoming manifest in the physical body. So she talks about the etheric body also, or the energy body, the energetic bodies. So, yeah, it's a complicated mechanism by which the spiritual energy can manipulate and act through the physical body. So this is essential background information for us to know if we're going to understand what happens when we die. Of course, we know nobody ever dies. So what do we mean when we say die? What is death? Most people don't understand death. Most people, because they think they are the body, which would probably be, I think Prabhupada wrote that 99% of the people of this world have no idea that they're not the body. They fully accept, they think that they are the body, and they're living their life as if they are, with the idea that after we die, the body's finished, so that's it. Sayonara, complete, gone. And so there's a lot of unfortunate people today who are planning to commit suicide with the help of the state. Canada is very willingly helping people to end their life if they want, for not a very significant reason at all, simply because you want to. Maybe you've heard about this woman. There's a 27-year-old woman in the Netherlands, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so she's suffering from chronic depression. And so she's planning on taking her life with the help of the state toward the end of May. I hope to be able to contact her before then and help her out, help her change her mind. I'm not quite sure how to go about that, but Anyway, yeah, so people, they think that's it. So, yeah, you know, if I'm suffering, why continue to suffer, right? So this is very unfortunate, very unfortunate. So let's now look at the time of death. What happens when the body dies? Or let's say, what causes the body to die? It's when the subtle body departs from the physical body. It's not just that, because we do that every night when we dream. Right? The subtle body, when we dream, the subtle body will leave and go off into the astral world somewhere and get involved in various activities. But there's a cord of subtle energy that's connecting us to the body. However, when the death of the physical body occurs, that cord is severed. And so there we are in our subtle body. Now where are we? Another name for the subtle body is the mental body. And where do we go? We go to the mental realm. The mental realm is where we go. And what is that mental realm? Now this involves a little bit of Sankhya philosophy or philosophical speculation. The subtle realm, or the mental realm, is made up of mind. We go into the mental realm, and what happens? Whatever is going on in our mind becomes manifest immediately. So perhaps you've read Prabhupada talking about traveling at the speed of mind. What's that mean? Once we depart from the body, in the mental body, we think of something, someplace, immediately we're there. Immediately. Doesn't matter how far away it is. So this is the speed of mind. How can we do that? Because it's just a mental conception. That thought of that place is a mental conception. And by thinking of it, we are connected with it. Now, this mental realm is a manifestation of what? It's a manifestation of our mental state. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, whatever state of being you think of when you quit the body, that state you attain without fail. Why do we attain that state? Because that in the mental world, in the mental realm, that state manifests as a result of our mental state. Now, understanding that, where is heaven and where is hell? Generally, we think of three-dimensional space when we think about the afterlife. Heaven is up there, right, and hell is down there. That's generally how people think of it. But how do we get there? By our mental state. Another way of saying that is heaven or hell are both within us, and they become manifest when we depart from the physical body and enter the mental realm. Whatever state of being we are in, that becomes manifest as our reality after we leave the body and go to the mental realm. So, a friend was encouraging me to watch this movie, The Shawshank Rebellion.
Redemption.
Anybody seen that movie?
Yes.
1, 2. It's about life in prison and how rough those men can be in dealing with each other. So what do you think? When they die, what's their mental state? Rough characters. What's their world going to become? Or let's say, what's their mental world going to be like? It's going to be filled with other people like themselves. Other rough, mean, angry characters. And what are they going to do? They're going to hurt each other. That's another name for hell, right? Yeah, that's what goes on. Or let's take the opposite. Somebody who's nice, kind, caring, loving, thoughtful of others, striving to make the world a better place, striving to make themselves a better person. Their mental state is very different. And where are they going to be? In a mental world filled with other people like them. Other kind, caring, compassionate, loving people. Also known as heaven. The Garuda Purana is a very interesting book to read. It's a description of various kinds of hells. If I remember right, there's something like 36,000 hells, some of which are described in some gruesome detail. But let's take it that these are different states of consciousness that people have, and when they leave the body, that consciousness manifests is one of those particular types of hell. There's also different types of heaven. And so there's different layers, different levels. Now, here's where our philosophical speculation kind of ends. We can understand basically the characteristics of the mental world, our mental state, and what our experience is going to be like after we leave the body. Understanding that, what should be our motivation? Where do you want to go? What do you want to experience after this life? This life is relatively short compared to the hereafter, right? We don't know how long that's going to be. So, but we have the opportunity. The human life gives us the opportunity to mold our consciousness, to prepare ourselves for the experience that we want to have after this life. So, who is it, the Microsoft commercial? Where do you want to go today? We have to think about that. Where do we want to go? What kind of experience do we want to have? Because every one of our actions is going to influence the state of our consciousness. Everything that we do, all of our motivations, particularly significant, more than the actions itself, are the motivations behind the action. Because that's what our state of consciousness is. Let's take an example. There's some kind of event that's going on that a lot of people, they want to support, and so they give charity to establish this result. And different people are giving charity for different reasons. They may all give the same sum of money, but one is motivated because they want to have a good name in the community, that I'm a charitable person. Another one is thinking, Perhaps I'm doing this because I want some reward for it. I want to get something back for it. I want to be recognized. Another person is thinking, who knows, whatever else. Different people have different motivations for the same act. And it's the motivation which is the most significant in determining where we go. Because why? The motivation is the state of our consciousness. What do I want to get? What do I want to achieve? Why am I doing this? To put it in terms that we're all familiar with, this is why Srila Prabhupada was encouraging us to become what? Krishna conscious. So that every act that we do is an act of devotion to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Let me do this nicely to please Krishna. So those kind of acts, they are transcendental. They do not bear any karma. And if we develop the habit of thinking like that, of becoming Krishna conscious, what's the state of our consciousness at the time of death? Krishna. And where do we go? The spiritual world. So, this is a very important thing to understand because it gives us a clue about how to act in this world. Now, I meant to state at the beginning, I'm speaking about this because I'm in the process of writing a book, same title, What Happens When We Die. And as I'm in the process of writing, I get many realizations about these things. And so I'm presenting to you, what I'm teaching you is really, you're not going to have to buy the book. You got the whole thing right now. But it's caused me to really understand that particularly for myself, and what I want to convey in the book, is how are we going to live our lives understanding that what we do is going to give us a particular result at the end of life. So it's given me a lot of realization about that. And this is what I hope to convey in the book. Now there's others who have written about the what happens after life. Maybe some of you might be familiar with Emanuel Swedenborg. No? No? He was a 19th century, what would you say, clairvoyant. He had the ability to travel into the mental world and observe heaven, observe hell, observe the state of consciousness of people who were there and so on. And he wrote a number of very interesting books, which are all, if I remember right, they're all available for free online.
Emmanuel, what did you say the name? Emmanuel? The name is Emmanuel?
Swedenborg. Swedenborg. And then besides that, we have what? We have probably thousands of YouTube videos of people who have near-death experiences. And those are all very interesting to watch. And it's very interesting because it seems everybody has a very different and unique experience. And some people are brave enough to admit that in their near-death experience, they didn't go up there, they went down there, and what that was like. And Hell is real. And when you hear these people talk about their experience and you see their eyes and the look on their face, you know that it was real. It reminds me of one story of a Russian devotee. This fellow was he was a bad boy. He wasn't this. He was, I don't know, got in a fight or got beat up or something like that, was in the hospital, up on the 7th floor. This is before he became a devotee. So he's in the hospital and he sees the Yamadutas coming for him. And he's freaking out, running away from them, and where's he go? He runs out the window, 7 floors up. A splat. So the Yamadutas snatch him. They drag him through hell on the way to see Yamaraj. And of course, we know that the Yamadutas on the way, they like to give their those that they have captured, they like to give them a little taste of things to come, a little preview along the way. And so this fellow, by the time he gets to Yamaraj, he's like completely freaked out. And he's pleading with Yamaraj, please, I'll do anything. Let me go back, let me go back. And Yamaraj is saying, sorry, you're in, you know, your time is done. Please, I'll do anything. I'll become a monk. So Yamaraj shows him a picture of a Christian monk. A monk like this? No, not like that. He shows him a picture of a Hare Krishna monk. A monk like this? Yeah, I'll become one of those. Okay, you can go back. So he goes back into his body. They scrape up his body from the ground. He's got, every bone is broken or something like that. So when he gets back into the hospital, he refuses all pain medication. And the doctors and nurses are saying, how can you tolerate the pain? And he says, ha, this is nothing. You don't know what pain is. So true to his word, right? He understood that what he's facing if he doesn't keep his word. So he goes and he becomes a Hare Krishna monk. And he would go out on book distribution with the 5th canto. And he'd show people the pictures. You see this? This is real. Please take this book and read it. So, yeah, hell is real. What else? So it's a little bit different. We like to think for the Hare Krishna devotees, for us, after all, we're trying to come closer to God in our devotional practice. And can we make it all the way? Can we do that? I want to read you a, every year for Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, his disciples get to send an offering to a what's called the Prabhupada Tributes book. So this is from my godbrother Amiyama, the offering that he wrote in 2022. So let me read you this. This is a very interesting story. To His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It has been 46 long years since I last saw you in person in 1976. You never made it back to Los Angeles in 1977, and I was unable to come to India to see you again. For 41 of those years, I had a friend, a partner, my wife, who also left this world this year, and in an auspicious way. She had kidney disease, then congestive heart failure due to high blood pressure. In the last month, she knew that she would be leaving soon. In her last days, she hadn't slept for 36 hours. Then finally, she fell asleep. After 18 long hours, I tapped on her shoulder and she immediately woke up saying, "Radha, Radha." I never heard her call out for Radha like that before. Then she told me to start chanting. I put on a recording of you, Srila Prabhupada, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And I and our son, who was home, both started chanting the Maha Mantra. She asked for her Jagannath deity, and I placed him next to her. I put fresh tilak on her and placed a tulsi leaf in her mouth. And she left this world very peacefully, no struggle. She just stopped breathing. But Krishna was there in the form of his holy name, being chanted not just by her husband and son, but by you, Srila Prabhupada, the pure devotee of Radha and Krishna. What was most auspicious in my view was that when I woke her up and she called out for Radha, Radha, I knew right then that she was already on her way back home. And my waking her up brought her back here just long enough that she could depart in the most auspicious way. Then a week after she left, she appeared in my dream where she gave me a message and asked that I tell all the others. The message that she wanted me to convey is this. She was a simple devotee. She never held any position. She was not in charge of any projects. Yet she wanted me, yet she wanted not just me, but others to know that she is being taken back to Godhead. What she wanted me to tell everyone was that the program that you taught us, Srila Prabhupada, works. All we have to do is follow the simple program that you have kindly given us. Chant our 16 rounds daily, read your books, and render service to Krishna in the form of his deity. To render service to you, Srila Prabhupada. Krishna is pure devotee. We don't have to become a big important devotee. We don't have to be in charge of this or that, or have followers or be famous. If that becomes our service to you and Krishna, then fine. We can carry it out the same as we clean the temple room floor or wash Krishna's pots. We just do whatever service you and Krishna have given us in a humble and devotional mood. And that is the most important part, the devotional mood. And that, even if we are not able to render physical service, our mood must always be of devotion to Krishna. This was a message that she asked me to tell the others. That your teachings work, Srila Prabhupada. All we have to do is follow what you have taught us, and regardless of who we are, even if we have no important position, we will be earning our ticket back home, back to Godhead, where we can serve you and Radha and Krishna directly. So I have decided to make this message as my offering to you this year, to tell the others what my wife has told me, that your teachings work, Srila Prabhupada. All we have to do is follow what you have given us. There is no way that we can thank you for what you have given us, the way out of this miserable samsara of this material world. From the lowest planet to the highest, it's all a place of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. We are now bound up. Birth after endless birth, death after death, we are bound up in this place of birth, death, old age, and disease. As you told us, Srila Prabhupada, this material world is no place for a gentleman. We must just do our business and get out. And you have shown us the path. You have given us the map. Your teachings and books shed the full brilliance of 1,000 suns lighting up the path. All we have to do is follow you. Follow what you have taught us, and our great escape from the endless cycle of birth and death is guaranteed. Even for us small, unimportant, common devotees who have no important social position, your teachings work for everyone. Thank you very much. Aspiring to become your worthy and humble servant, Atma Das, ACBSP. Initiation 1973, December, LA, USA. What do you think? Are you inspired now to chant 16 rounds every day? I hope so. I mean, this is very significant. It was very wonderful to read. Now, I'll give you a little contrast to this. Does it necessarily mean that if we do that mechanically, that we will go back to Godhead? What did he say? Our mood is what's most important. Let me contrast that with a purport from Bhagavad Gita. This is chapter 9, text number 12. Translation. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Purport. There are many devotees, many, who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service, going back to Godhead, will never be tasted. Yikes. Many devotees who assume themselves to be in devotional service. So, there's a big contrast here between these two, isn't it? What's the difference? The mood. Yeah. The consciousness. What are we doing? Okay, we put on a dhoti or a sari, and we still act like the nasty persons that we were before we changed our clothes. You might know some devotees like that. We won't name any names. Maybe we've run into a few. It's not for us to say who is going to go back to Godhead or not. That's not our place to judge. But this is for us, not for us to judge them or anybody else, but to look at ourselves and to make sure that we are not these ones who are assuming ourselves to be devotees in Krishna consciousness, who will never go back home, back to Godhead. So we have to keep this in mind. It's not external. It's not what the body is doing. It's not how the body is dressed or how the tilak looks. Right? It's not how we wave our hand when we do the arti or fan the deities. Those things are Krishna. What's he want? He wants our love. He wants to feel the mood. He's in our heart, and He knows exactly what our mood, our consciousness is when we are performing our devotional service, what our motivation is. Why are we doing what we are doing? What's our goal of life? What conclusion do we want? So, it's very important for us to be introspective, to examine ourselves, to make sure that we have a look at ourselves often and see exactly what's going on up here, what's going through the mind as we go through our lives. So, I'll stop there. For any questions, comments? Go ahead.
I remember one lecture.
Speak up, please.
I remember one lecture of духовный ратник, как
Spiritual warrior,
Bhakti Tirtha.
She spoke or dream, and she said he's dreaming the left body, and Yamaduta is coming, and they came in bodily.
They took away.
Take away from the Yamaraj. And he is protesting and ask Yamaraj what I'm doing here. I'm a good disciple for my spiritual master, and I'm also a spiritual master, and my disciple is Zagreb. Satisfied with me, and
my service.
I service him. I give him so many nice book, and this and this and this. And Yamaraj listened all this, and finish. Ask him, yeah, I know. You're doing all this, I know, but tell me, do you do it all this for Krishna or for yourself? In this moment is wake up.
That's a nice warning. Did he say that in the book that he changed his attitude and started doing everything for Krishna?
No. When he listened this question, his wake up momentarily.
Was it a real dream that he had?
Yeah, he
Okay.
spoke as your real dream.
Okay.
But he said when he listened this question,
The truth came out.
He woke up.
It's not.
He understood.
he woke up in this moment.
Yeah.
Because this question is so hard expression for him.
Well, okay, that's a good lesson for all of us. Again, our motivation. What are we doing for? Huh? Please? Speak loudly, please.
Yes, okay. Can you tell how do we get into the mood, like loving Krishna, if we're not, if someone is not, then is.
How do we get in the mood of loving Krishna, since we don't naturally start out this way in our life?
Yeah.
By association with those who are in love with Krishna. And for us, principally, this means by associating with Srila Prabhupada in reading his books. Many times devotees ask me, when I met Srila Prabhupada? And my reply is always, the same way you met Srila Prabhupada, in his books. Although I saw Prabhupada on many occasions, I never had a chance to get close to him. Generally, it was only the sannyasis, temple presidents who had much close personal association. But I know Prabhupada by reading his books. And when we read his books, his mood naturally comes across. So it's not just Prabhupada, but we're also encouraged to associate with like-minded devotees. We should search out and find others who inspire us in our Krishna consciousness by their association. One god brother of mine, he was always carrying around with him Srimad Bhagavatam. And every time that I saw him, he'd say, "Oh, Dineshwar Prabhu, nice to see you. Come on, let's sit down and read Srimad Bhagavatam together." Every time I saw him, it was like that. Huh? So naturally, I like to come in contact with them. That was always wonderful. So, yeah, we have to find a way to have that association of those persons who are expressing that love. Now, the important thing here, also, I really want to stress, it's not a mental idea who, appears like Amiyama was saying in his letter, not some big devotee or something like that, some important devotee, some guru, but from our heart, right? How are we being guided? By our head or by our heart? And the two are very different. The head is generally doing things on the basis of some material distinction. But the heart is, I want to be here with that person. I feel good in their association. So we must let our heart be our guide and not worry about what the head is saying. Why? Because Krishna, of course, is in the heart. He's our best friend, the super soul. He's giving us guidance. He's there to satisfy our desires. Well, you had a desire for this thing. Go here, go there, do this. So, Krishna is helping us. So what is our desire? And this is another thing we can be introspective about, is our desires. If we look and see what our desires are there, or are there no desires yet? Right? As we become more and more pure, the desires, they dwindle, they go away. Well, especially the material desires. So, and then if we see that our desires, we're not desiring so much transcendence, to be in association with devotees, to be doing devotional service, then at that time we should use our head to figure out how we're going to do that, how we're going to get that association. Of course, today it's a very impersonal world, and a lot of association goes on online. There's many groups of devotees, they come together and they chant japa together over what's up, right? Or devotees, they're located in a place where there's no temple, so they go on Mayapur TV in the morning and they have Mangal Arti at Mayapur, and then in Vrindavan, and then in Europe, and then in America, like that. So there's different ways to do it, but somehow or other we have to find like-minded association and find those devotees that inspire us to pursue our Krishna consciousness seriously. Okay?
Can I ask one more question?
Sure. Ask 10 more.
Okay. About the near-death experiences and your God brother.
And what?
Your
God brother.
His offering, and I mean, I'm a little bit confused and in dilemma. How if it's the mind and if it's our consciousness, how it is real for everyone? How it's real for everyone? Like
what? What's it?
So
don't use it.
So the experience. So his wife has passed away. She came into his dream and said what she experienced. So and also I saw a video of one woman that she had a near-death experience, and she said like there's no heaven, there's no hell. So that's her experience.
I'm happy you bring this up. Because why? Everybody's experience is going to be unique. Yes. It's going to be as unique as their life.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's just about our desire and our consciousness and our state of mind. So if we want that, then it's real for us, and it will be real for us.
Well, it'll be real for everybody. I mean, everybody's going to have a real experience.
Yes.
Is that what you're asking? I'm not quite sure what you mean by
really
real.
Sure, because I'm confused with all this. I don't know how to ask the question, and
Maybe you want to say it in Croatian, let somebody...
No, it's even worse.
Not a language problem.
I mean, how does it apply for everyone? Do you understand what I mean? How does it apply to everyone?
Okay, if I understand your question correctly, you're asking how... You're asking for the principle on which this is all, the principle behind the result. Is that what you're asking for, the principle?
Yes, I think, yes.
Not the results are various,
Yes.
but what's the principle? Is that the question?
Yes, I think, yes.
Okay. So again, yam yam vapi smaram bhavam. Did that? Who can help me out? Did that just yat something maram? I can't remember the Sanskrit exactly, but okay. Whatever state of being you're in when you quit the body, that state you will attain. Why? Because that's the state you're in. And where are you going? You're going to the mental world. The mental world is manifest. It's made up of your mental state. You can't go to any other place because what your mental state is makes your world. It's that experience is created by your mental state. So that's the principle. We develop a state of consciousness, a mental state, and we're going to the mental world, and that mental world is a manifestation of our consciousness. So everybody is going to have a different experience for the most part. There's people who are similar, right? The bad guys are going to be with the other bad guys. The nice people are going to be with the nice people. So, but for the most part, there's many people are going to have an experience as unique as what their life was. I've watched many of these near-death experience videos, which is what gave me the idea to write this book. And yeah, they're all having a very unique experience. And they all, now here's the thing, they all think that it's going to be like that at the time of death. That may not be correct, right? Somehow or other, they're being given an opportunity to have an experience which may be wonderful or may be terrible. They're given an experience to do that and then come back into this world. I think the statistic is something like 3% of people that die have near-death experiences, which is a huge number. Right? When you figure 7 billion people and 1% die every year, that's 70 million people, and 3% of that is what? 2,100,000 people every year. Something like that, if I did the math correctly. Anyway, a huge number of people. But it's going to be unique, and it's based on our state of consciousness.
I understand that. Yeah, I think for me the problem was because they are stating like their experiences, the one.
The experience.
Yeah.
Right.
This is what everyone will and should, like it's.
No.
So.
No, not at all.
When I heard the story from your god brother, then someone else can think like that. I mean, yeah, how am I sure that it applies for me?
Well, that's why I was emphasizing, he was stressing, right?
Yes.
What's your mood,
Yes.
or what's your consciousness? And that's why I read this other statement from the Bhagavad Gita to give a very strong contrast with that, because it's not automatic, right? Not automatic at all. There is a why, again, our motivation, why are we doing what we're doing? What do we want to get from it? That's the most important thing. Are we doing it to please Krishna? That's the question. And if not, that's what we should train ourselves to do. And as I say that, I'm speaking to myself too, because I'm not always in that consciousness either. And it's extremely important. How do we develop that? Again, Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion, so that every act is an act of devotion. Cleaning the house, sweeping the floor. Sweeping the floor. How am I doing it? Am I doing it mindlessly, or am I doing it to please Krishna? Let's try to remember. Put a sticker on the bathroom mirror or something. Do this to please Krishna. Shaving to please Krishna. Bathing to please Krishna. Whatever, yeah, everything. Let me do this nicely to please Krishna. What are they doing in the spiritual world? Okay, we want to go to the spiritual world. Okay, and so the saying is, we should all live in Vrindavan. And if we can't live there physically, we should live there mentally. So, what's going on in Vrindavan? What do you think they're thinking? What are the cowherd boys thinking as soon as they wake up? Oh, I'm going to be with Krishna. What are the girls thinking as soon as they wake up? When am I going to see Krishna? Yeah. Yes.
The cowherd boys, they even cannot wait for sunrise. They walk several times during the night in anticipation to see Krishna.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the consciousness. If we're going to live in Vrindavan mentally, that's a consciousness we should develop. We can practice that. When am I going to get to see Krishna? Am I going to go out with Krishna and the cows today? Playing with Krishna? That's how we... now there's some literature to read that helps us to understand how to develop that mood. I wrote a paper that was published on dandavats.com That paper is titled My Last Conversation with Indra. So everybody knows who Indra was? Okay. So I used to make it a habit every time I would go to Vrindavan to visit Indra and cultivate a relationship with him. And this last visit, he was going on and on and on for 2 hours. You have to read the books of the Goswamis. You have to read Raganuga literature. Going on and on. Prabhupada came to give us Raganuga Bhakti, not Vaidhi Bhakti. So I took up my recorder and I recorded it. And that's what I transcribed and put up there on Dandavats. So you can read that. One of my godbrothers, Uttama Sloka Prabhu, he read that and became inspired to write a book about the path of bhakti. And that book is called Understanding and Realization of Your Spiritual Nature, which is available as a PDF free online. And I recommend everybody to read that book because he goes through the process of Bhakti Yoga from beginning of Vaidhi Bhakti. But Vaidhi Bhakti is not the end. Vaidhi Bhakti is simply to purify us, to become free from anartha nirvritti, the unwanted dirty things from the heart, come to the stage of nishtha, steadiness in devotional service, where we're automatically, spontaneously attracted to activities of devotion. From that point then, we can begin to read the works of the Goswamis. And if you're at that stage, I think one of the beginning books or early easiest books to read in that regard is Govinda Lilamrita. But you have to judge yourself and see, because what? If you still have the enjoying consciousness, I'm trying to enjoy this world, stay away from the Raganuga literature because you do not want to try to be the enjoyer of Krishna's pastimes. Krishna's the enjoyer. We're the servant, and that's how we have to enter in. That's a mood that we have to enter into those pastimes. Otherwise, we make a mess of our spiritual life. But Uttama Sloka does a very good job explaining this, which is why I recommend that book. You can search it online, it's a free download. Understanding and Realization of Your Spiritual Identity, Uttama Sloka Das.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Louder, please.
Thank you. I said thank you. There is some teacher who say that we can go to Raganuga Bhakti when we read the book about Ashtakaliya, when we read
Ashtakaliya Leela.
Yes. Without this preparation of sadhana and so, what say you about this?
Worshipping the deity at home is extremely important. I once researched Prabhupada's books, How to Conquer Over Sex Life, and he said one must worship the deity in order to conquer over sex desire. So this part is very important. So, Ashtakaliya Leela. This is Krishna's eightfold pastimes in Vrindavan. This is presented in another book by Bhakti Vinod, Chaitanya Shikshamrita. Anybody read this one? Okay. This is also a very wonderful book. Bhakti Vinod, he's such a practical writer for us. Let's say, when we have read Prabhupada's books, right? And have a foundation, a basic foundation, and understanding Bhakti Yoga. We can read Bhakti Vinod. He's very good. Several of his books are on the Veda base. If you don't have the Veda base, please get it. It's a wonderful resource. So Bhakti Vinod's Chaitanya Shikshamrita, he presents the Ashtakliya Leela toward the end of the book, but he goes through the whole thing of developing, right, the different stages of bhakti and when we can do that. Again, the important thing is we must become free from the desire to enjoy, right? Oktaram jagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyanavam shatnam richati. I am the only Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the dearmost friend of everyone. If we have the desire to be the enjoyer, if we're still trying to be the enjoyer or the proprietor or the dearmost friend of others, we may fall into the category of those devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness but will never go back to Godhead. So, again, it's very important to become conscious of our consciousness. What's going on up here? Take a look at what we're thinking, what's going through our mind, and chastise ourselves, right? Bhakti Vinod, or is it Bhakti Siddhanta, right? Beat your mind with a shoe in the morning and a stick at night. A broom, whatever. I've done that, it works.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think also.
Yeah.
This is my.
Yeah, there's, again, these, I'm mentioning these two books because they're very good as guidebooks to help us enter into that, okay? But we have to be careful about becoming sahaja, taking it cheaply. Huh? Sahaja means what? I'm enjoying Krishna's pastimes. Bad idea. Don't want to do that. That'll wreak havoc in our spiritual life if we do.
You mentioned deity worship.
Louder.
You mentioned deity worship as an important thing, and I've been in and around ISKCON for a few years, and
You've been in what?
in and around ISKCON and devotees in ISKCON, and I never really. Mostly it's like for initiated devotees, deity worship. And somewhat recently, I heard that it's actually something that beginners should do. So could you talk a little about that?
Sure. There's formal deity worship in the temple. The standard used to be that one would have 2 initiations to be able to properly worship the deities. That was the standard also for Gaur Nitai. However, Gaur Nitai can be worshipped simply by chanting Hare Krishna. When I'm mentioning deity worship, I mean to have deities in your home. You should have deity in your house, whether it's a painting of Panchatattva, Gaur Nitai deities, Radha Krishna. Radha Krishna's, Prabhupada cautioned us about that. And Prabhupada also cautioned us that you don't keep these forms in your house without worshiping them. Very important. They're not, the murti of Krishna is not there as a decoration for your house. If you have the murti, then you should worship him. And what's the mood? The mood is, if I don't feed Krishna, he's going to be hungry. I have to take care of Krishna. I have to give him his bath. Right? That's the mood that we want to develop. Let me do this cooking for Krishna's pleasure. Does Krishna like pizza?
Some say.
Maybe.
If you put double cheese on it, I guess. So, yeah, deity worship is extremely important for us to develop the realization, the consciousness. God is a person, and I can have a personal relationship with Him. That's the idea, having a relationship. By how? By rendering service. And that's how all relationships develop, right? We all have an exchange in our relationships. That's what relationship means, an exchange. If there's no exchange, there's no relationship. So we give to the deity, and we will see the deity will exchange with us. We will feel it. Yeah.
I read many Srimad Bhagavatam every day. I have realization that Srimad Bhagavatam is no different from Krishna. I have realization with Srimad Bhagavatam more than my deity. But I don't love all time Krishna. I have materialistic desire.
Prabhupada describes Bhakti Yoga as a slow process. Right? It's not going to happen overnight. And, you know, how many lifetimes will it take? You know, we may not be successful in this life, but we pick up from where we left off in last life. That's guaranteed. So, Krishna can show himself to us in many different ways. So if he's showing himself to you through Bhagavatam, well, yes, we say, what is Bhagavatam? It's a literary incarnation of God. Yes, it is Krishna. Sure. So that can happen. Yeah.
You mentioned how we should kick our mind with a shoe and with the stick. So I'm just curious if you can maybe give us some examples.
Some good shoes.
Yeah.
I get particularly mad at my mind when it wants to think of sex life. That's when I take out a stick and I put a nail in it. And yeah, and I just, you know how Bhima, there was some person was coming to try to connect with Draupadi, and he was waiting and hiding, right? And he beat the guy into a pulp of massive stuff. So that's I beat my mind into a shape like that.
I see.
It works.
So it's like a form of meditation that you're doing.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's a mental thing. Yeah.
I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Thank you. I'll do it.
That clock is. I was looking at that clock last night. It's 7 o'clock, and I'm thinking it's broken now. It's not 7 o'clock.
They missed translation.
I'm sorry.
They missed the translation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Ne, ono hoće postaviti pitanje pa da ti prevediš.
Sutra je dan pojave Ramanujačarya.
Tomorrow is appearance day.
Yes, right.
Yeah. He's my on je moja jako velika inspiracija. On I Yamunacharya.
He and Yamunacharya are my very big inspiration in my spiritual life.
I to je bilo prije 1000 godina.
It was 1,000 years ago.
1,000?
1,000 years ago, yeah.
What was 1,000 years ago?
Ramanujačarya appeared.
Oh, when Ramanuja's appearance, yes.
I kad sam bio u Širangamu, došao sam sa samadhi, sa darshan.
When I came to Srirangam, I visited Samadhi of Sri Ramanujacharya and had darshan with him.
I dobio sam poruke od njega.
So I got some messages from Ramanujacharya himself.
I kada čitam onu knjigu Život Ramanujacharya i sam život, dinamika, odnos sa Yamunacharyom, sa inspiracijom i kakvi su bili odnosi među Vajšnavima, kako su slali jedan drugome, ovo uči kod ovog, ovo uči kod onoga. Taj odnos kakav ima Ramanujacharya.
Now, I like to read a book about Ramanujacharya, and I'm inspired by the mutual relationship of the acharyas of those days, Yamunacharya, Ramanujacharya. They were sending disciples to each other and encouraging them to learn from others, and this is very inspiring for me.
I ono što je posljednji uput, znači, onda ono iskustvo ovoga kako je to povezano sa Yamunacharyom koji je bio, gdje se oni zapravo nisu se sreli su se u jednom trenutku sa Goštipurnom dok je bio
Yamunacharya i Ramanuja, samo jedan.
Samo se jedno, ali na distanci. Ali su i na kraju, kad je Yamunacharya napuštao tijelo, veli, rekao je Ramanujacharya će biti sljedeći, zapravo acharya, ne?
Ramanujacharya and Yamunacharya met only once, but that was from distance. And Ramanujacharya and Yamunacharya met only once. Ramanuja, so Yamunacharya, the other way around, from distance. And then at the very end of Yamunacharya's life, he authorized Ramanujacharya to carry on the mission.
I zapravo kako je uvijek bio prisutan kad je ostavio ona tri prsta. Tri prsta su bila skrčena. I onda kad je Ramanuja rekao zašto su skrčena prsta.
Yamunacharya, at his deathbed, he had 3 fingers bent like that. And Ramanujacharya knew what that meant.
Da, ona kad su se otpustila su se
jedan. A znaš zašto?
Znam zašto.
Okay.
I to je, on je ostvario te njegove tri želje.
So Yamunacharya had 3 desires. He was physically dead at that time, but he had 3 of his fingers were bent. And then he expected Ramanujacharya to guess what these 3 desires are. And Ramanuja spoke up those one by one, those desires, and each time he mentioned the desire, one finger was stretched like that. So he had 3 desires.
I zanimljive su upute. Yamunacharya kad je dao, znači na kraju kad je dao upute svojim učenicima,
Ramanuja.
Yamunacharya kad je dao upute svojim učenicima, kad on nastavi, rekao je točno što treba napraviti, rekao je to, ono što treba slijediti, a na kraju ako sve to nema, da treba naći osobu čistog srca i družiti se sa njom.
Yamunacharya, before he died, he gave instructions to his disciples what they had to do. Yamunacharya, what they had to do. But if they cannot accomplish any of these items, at least they should find a person with a pure heart.
Da. Kada je Ramanuja odlazio, dao je isto tako iste upute. Gdje je opunomoćio svoje određene učenike koji će nastaviti dalje.
So when Ramanuja Prabhu was leaving his body, he did the same. He authorized some of his disciples to carry on the mission.
To what?
To carry on the mission, to preach.
Da. I ono što sam zapravo htio reći, koliko me ti odnosi i taj život, znači koji bi bio prije 1000 godina, koliko je aktualan i danas i taj odnos. Ne možemo, bez promjene srca ne možemo ništa ovoga.
I'm very much moved with this relationship between the acharyas from those days. It was 1,000 years ago, but it's applicable even in nowadays, and without change of the heart we won't be able to make any progress.
We would love to see this manifest within our institution also.
Voljeli bi vidjeti da se to manifestira i u našoj instituciji.
Trebamo počekati još par sto godina.
Thank you for reminding us. Yes, so.
Može još jedno pitanje.
Okay.
Komentar ili pitanje?
Kaj?
Pitanje ili komentar?
Ne, sad je pitanje će biti. Rekao si da trebamo, znači na koji način zadovoljiti Krišnu i tako dalje. Rekao bi o Sridhar Maharađu, kako trebamo imati taj stav koji imamo, želju koju imamo u sebi, šta želimo, trebamo biti vrlo važno. Da često se, kaže Sridhar Swami, da ne ovo, ne ono, da nas se dogodi, samo ne ovo, samo ne ono, a upravo se zapravo to dogodi. Onda on je rekao u svome primjeru, tako se je molio, da postane, veli, da budem potpuno zavisan od tebi Krišna. Da postane, a on je mislio da bude onako po njegovom, kako on to želi, ne? Ali da potpuno sve ovisi o njemu i onda mu je dao hepatitis C. Krišna mu je dao hepatitis C, razbolio se, ne? I onda je on rekao, čekaj, ja nisam tako mislio. On je mislio na onaj način da to bude lagano, ne?
Sridhar Swami was praying to Lord Krishna that he would surrender.
Speak louder, please.
Yeah, Sridhar Maharaj, he's called Sridhar Maharaj. He was praying to Lord Krishna that he fulfills desires, that he wanted to surrender to Krishna the way he wanted it. But then Krishna reciprocated in a different way. Krishna gave him hepatitis C, and that's not what Sridhar Maharaj expected. And he was saying, wait, Krishna, I was not ready for this.
I sad je pitanje, koliko zapravo to neko misli, samo da meditacija i moli se, samo da se to ne dogodi, samo da se to ne dogodi. A zašto se onda baš to dogodi?
And then somebody may think, okay, I don't want this to happen, I don't want that to happen, but then just by this meditation, exactly that happens. That's it.
There's many different stories of devotees finding reciprocation from the Lord in uncommon ways.
Ima puno priča kako su bakte imali odnos razmjenu sa Krišnom na veoma neuobičajene načine.
You have one you told me today. You want to tell your story?
Okay. Which one?
How you...
Yeah. Okay. Da. Ja sam danas Maharađu u Ličku ispričao jednu priču. Kad sam bio 1991. godine u Indiji, prvi puta ulizao me majmun tu u Vrindavanu i tad sam bio ljut, bio sam mlad bakta, 3 godine tako Bhakti Yogi i mislio sam zašto se sad to meni dogodilo, zašto mi je to Krišna pripremio u Vrindavanu. I onda kad smo se vratili, još je bila Jugoslavija pred raspadom, završio sam u bolnici i na zaraznom hepatitis dobija i došla je vojna policija u međuvremenu kod moje roditelja, pitali su gdje je Vladimir, trebamo ga za... U Vukovar sam trebao ići.
U vojsku?
U vojsku, da, jer bilo je stvaranje Hrvatske armije, to je bilo u začetku. I oni su rekli da je u bolnici i onda su došli provjeriti jer sam ja u bolnici i onda su vidjeli da ja ležim na zaraznom i onda su samo odmahnuli i otišli. ali da nije bilo ugriza tog majmuna.
Niste više tražili.
Sad se dobio odgovor zašto ti je Krišna to ne...
Ja, ovdje mi je postalo.
Jesi bili dalje ljuti ili onda vi si prestao biti ljuti?
A ne, onda sam shvatio Krišnu poruku. Bio sam zahvalan, jel?
Kaže se, Krišna samo dao tebi ovisi, onda hepatitis C.
Actually, I'll tell you also, there is a continuation of the story.
Louder.
There is a continuation.
That's not louder.
Even louder. There's something more that I didn't tell you. There were 3 of us together in Seva Kunji. One devotee from Serbia, myself from Croatia, and one devotee from Bosnia. So, devotee from Serbia and myself, 2 of us, we were bitten by a monkey, but not devotee from Bosnia. And then some years later, after the war, I met that devotee from Serbia, and I asked him, "Oh, where have you been? I haven't seen you for many years." And he told me, "You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe me what happened to me. You remember when we were bitten by a monkey? I ended up in the hospital, and the Serbian army came to me, and they wanted to send me to Vukovar." So we would have been shooting each other. So za one koji nisu razumijeli, trojica smo bili tada na Seva Kunji u Vrindavanu, jedan bakta iz Srbije, ja i jedan bakta iz Bosne. I ovog iz Srbije i mene ugriza majmun. I onda vratili smo se u Jugoslaviju, svako u svojoj kući, i nakon par godina, nakon rata, ja sretnem ovog iz Srbije, Vađanaku, ne znam da li znaš. I pitam ga kako, daj se bre čoveče, nismo se pitali godinama. I kaže on, nećeš vjerovati šta je bilo. Kaže, zbog onog ugriza majmuna završio sam u bolnici, došla je srpska vojska, a htjeli su da me pošalju u Vukovar. I onda bi se mi gledali kako je ništa da mi, eto, Krišna napravi aranžman.
Ista stvar,
Okay, I remembered one more story that I'd like to convey, and then we'll end. This is a near-death experience of a devotee, Mataji, from Kazakhstan.
Želim vam ispričati priču o jednoj Mataji iz Kazahstana koja je imala iskustvo blisko smrti.
And she became ill. She was in Mayapur, I think. She became ill, very ill, and she went to a hospital in Calcutta.
Bila je tada u Mayapuru i postala veoma bolesna, pa su je poslali u Kalkutu u bolnicu.
And she was in a lot of pain, and she said, "Why are you crying?" There's a Muslim nurse who told her, "Why are you crying like that? Just chant Hare Krishna."
Tamo u bolnici u Kalkuti bila je velikim govorima, a sestra koja je brinula o njoj bila je muslimanka koja je rekla, šta se bojiš, što mantra Hare Krishna?
So it became very difficult for her. She wanted, she could feel that her life was ending. She wanted to chant, but her physical condition was she couldn't chant the Mahamantra.
Za tu Mataji je bilo veoma teško da mantra Hare Krishna Mahamantra, ona je htjela, ali zbog fizičkih ograničenja ona nije mogla.
So she left the body, and then she was chastising herself. "Oh, I failed the final test. I couldn't chant Hare Krishna at the end of life."
I onda ona napustila tijelo i grdila je samu sebe. Napustila sam tijelo, nisam mantrala Hare Krishna na kraju života.
So she was beating herself up like this, but then in a distance she saw Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra.
I ona se tako tukla samu sebe i u udaljini je vidjela Jagannath, Baladev i Subhadru.
And she had been worshipping Jagannath deities for a long time.
A ona je obožavala Jagannathe božanstva dugo vremena.
So Jagannath came close to her, the others stayed at the distance. Jagannath came close, and he developed a more human-like form, but it was still very much Jagannath.
I Jagannath ju se približio, prišao je bliže. On je bio Jagannath, ali nekako poprimio ljudski oblik.
And then Jagannath gave her a life review.
Kako je review?
Pregled.
Da, i onda je Jagannath je dala pregled njenog života.
And she said, Jagannath showed her all of the devotional activities she had performed in her life.
I Jagannath ju je dao da se prisjeti svih devocijskih aktivnosti koje je ona izvršila u svom životu.
And how pleased he was by that.
I kako je on bio zadovoljan time.
She was expecting that she was going to see some of the nonsense things that she had done, or some of the mistakes that she made, or people that she had hurt, but she didn't see any of that. All Jagannath showed her was the devotional service that she had done.
Dakle, Jagannath ju je dao da ona vidi u viziji sve te stvari. Ona je mislila sad će mi Jagannath dati da vidim sve greške što sam napravila, sve gluposti što sam napravila, osobe koje sam uvredila, ali ne, Jagannath je bio zahvalan i pokazao je samo one dobre stvari.
And then, anyway, I forget the rest of the details, but then she came back to the body and she recounts the story.
Ali ona se vratila u život, povratila se i onda zato mi znam ovu priču ispričala svima.
I put the story on my Facebook page long time ago.
Prije puno godina ja sam tu priču stavio na moju Facebook stranicu.
And some of the Russian devotees or Kazakh devotees, they gave her name.
I neki bhakti iz Kazahstana su to pročitali i znali su točno ime te Mataji.
And maybe some other details, because she had she wrote a book, and so I looked it up. I was reading it with Google Translate.
Ona je napisala knjigu I ja sam je čitao uz pomoć Google Translatora.
A very wonderful book. I can't remember now the details about it. It was very, very wonderful book.
Ne mogu se sad sjetiti svih detalja u toj knjizi, ali knjiga je zaista divna.
Anyway, if you want to see that, you can go to my Facebook Dineshwar Das page, and you have to scroll down. I don't know how far, but you can find it.
Moja Facebook stranica je Dineshwar Das I onda tamo negdje dole ako scrollate ima negdje ta knjiga, pa možete vidjeti.
Maybe you don't have to scroll down very far, because I hardly ever go on Facebook.
Ja ne idem baš često na Facebook, sad ne znam baš gdje se nalazi, ali morat ćete malo pogledati na dolje I ta knjiga se nalazi tamo.
Okay, last thing.
Ja ću reći na hrvatski. Ja sam pročitala tu priču na Facebooku, od neko je to prenio, poslao, pa sam pročitala. I onda mi je bilo, moj komentar na to je bio na Facebooku, da Krishna ne želi od nas nekakve velike stvari, on želi samo da ga volimo.
Okay, wait, he's got to translate all that.
Yeah. I read the very same story on Facebook. Yeah. And then I commented on that Krishna doesn't expect from us to do some great things. He expects us to do some simple things.
To love.
Yeah.
Well, according to our capacity. We all have different capacities. Some can do more than others, right? Some decorate the deity in very beautiful ways. I could never do that.
Mi svi imamo različite kapacitete I mogućnosti. Neko može ukrasiti božanstvo na veoma lijep način. Ja osobno nisam za to. Mislim, ne znam.
So we each have our talent, and so we use whatever we have, whatever Krishna's given us.
Mi koristimo svoje talente koje god nam ih je Krishna dao.
Devotees would ask Prabhupada, what can I do for Krishna? And Prabhupada's reply was, what do you like to do? Do what you like to do for Krishna.
Bhakti su pitali Prabhupada, što da radimo za Krishnu? On im je odgovorio, učinite ono što znate I volite.
Okay, I think we should end there. It's getting late. Thank you all for your association, for coming. What are we're here tomorrow night also?
Yeah.
And what are we going to talk about?
Mantra and
Oh, mantra. Oh, yeah.
Kirtan.
Good, mantra and kirtan. It's kirtan tomorrow night. Yeah, that'll
Like
be fun.
Introduction to mantra, something like that.
Yeah. No, I've got I give one of my standing classes that I give everywhere I travel is about chanting japa. I'll speak
Jedna
about
od
that.
mojih lekcija koje ja volim davati, predavanje koje ja volim davati kad putujem je o mantranju na džapi, Hare Krishna mantri.
Okay, hope to see you then. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Dineshwar Maharaj ki jai. Bhakti imam ja samo jednu malu najavu prije nego što se raziđemo. Dineshwar Maharaj je došao prije 2 dana bit ćemo u Hrvatskoj do kraja mjeseca, i bit će onako malo putovanja, pa eto, ako hoćete pomoći za putne troškove, evo ja prodajem ove knjige, naravno imam ih još tu, evo samo ukratko da predstavim naslove. Ovo, i da, ne prodajem, to je za donaciju, nema fiksne cijene, koliko god možete.